What's up, everybody? Welcome to a final 2022 edition of Fourth and Go. Man, those reflections aren't working for me. I'm Dave Glackner. This is Marc Tomasini. We are Philly 4 for 4 and so much more tonight. We're going to have a great show as we close out 2022, turn over a new page and look to 2023 and what we are thankful for, what were our best Philly sports moment, overall sports moment, and of course, we'll talk about the Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and a whole lot more. Welcome to the show, Mark. What's up, buddy?
What up? What up? Speaking of turnovers, Dak already has 3 tonight, so that's pretty cool. Hoping that we get some luck from Tennessee, but just an egregious pass interference called down the field. So
Of course, on 3rd and 19, right? They
Yep.
got 3rd and 30 last week.
Yeah.
Just bail them out.
Yeah.
They had one on 3rd and 8 earlier, a defensive holding. Like it's
Yeah.
just and this one gets them all the way down to 6, whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm sporting my Florida State headband a little bit here tonight because they just came off a big dub, finished the season 10-3. It was a good game tonight at the Cheez-It Bowl, if you can believe it or not. That actually has a decent name. But talking about cheese, I felt like we got some this last week.
We did.
Dallas, a big game. Minshew shows up. We're looking pretty good, but the 4 turnovers really, I think, there's a bunch of ways we can look at this. And I've heard different angles. Oh, the defense shouldn't let up that many points. I mean, really, in reality, they didn't let up all 40. And then Minshew played well. No, he didn't play well. Oh, it just boils down to turnovers for me. That's the bottom line. Yeah. They lost that game because they were -3 in the turnover game. We were up 7 in the 4th, and they scored the last 13 points. I mean, I'll ask you, what was your biggest reason for the loss? And I'm not down. I'm just curious.
No, I completely agree. It's turnovers. I mean, here's the thing. The Miles Sanders fumble, just egregious. Just egregious. Being sloppy with the ball, going against what the offensive line gave him. That was just unacceptable. But the difference between Hurts and Minshew is, one, I don't think Hurts puts that ball to Quez either time. Go that route either time.
But it's Quez's fault. I really believe.
No, I agree. I agree. But I just don't. I don't think Hurts seeing the coverage. I don't even think that he goes there. He maybe goes there once. He doesn't go back to the well twice. He doesn't pretty much do that same thing twice. That was Quez not being able to outman the ball. There's a couple things. Quez is our speed guy. He's never been a great over the middle route runner. It's just not his game. He's a one-trick pony. That just kind of is what it is. And it hurt because really, if you're going to do that type of play, the guy you're throwing that ball to is Dallas Goedert. But with the Lane Johnson injury, it's unfortunate. We're going to see that Goddard's not going to get as many targets, in my opinion, because they're going to use him as a blocker more to help on Lane's side. I just think that is the potential way that we're going. So I think that was a big reason why the offense kind of started to sputter out towards the end there.
Did it sputter or did they just turn it over? That's my
turned it over.
Yeah,
like if he, Minshew felt he had that twice, it just.
Here's my thing with Minshew. He is a serviceable backup quarterback. I think we're both fans.
I'm not that mad at him.
Here's where I'm mad. I just felt like he backed out too much. And where I'm mad is the last series of the game. And I don't think this is necessarily him. I think it's Nick. I don't spike the ball. I'm screaming at my TV. Why are we wasting a down when we have a timeout in our pocket? And then, okay, you want to spike it because you think it's that important to keep your timeout? And the next 3 plays are to the end zone. Like you gotta run one, you gotta hit a hitch on one. You gotta slant anywhere. But I just couldn't really. I just didn't understand the concept in those last 3 plays.
Yeah, it was kind of just like let's hope for a hope and a prayer. They obviously had the chance to make something happen, but you don't spike the ball. I mean, here's the thing. What happened to having a play set up for, if you do, what happened to just having a, run up to the line and run a play?
That's it. That's what I wanted. It was a great catch, a really good catch by Devontae to get us there.
Have something ready. I know, and you can say that I think they would have done the same thing with Jalen. I think they would have spiked the ball with Jalen if he did that.
Yeah, because I think it's a Sirianni thing. Tom Knight checking in. Astros, listen, great season. Best team in baseball. No doubt about it. Like, the Phillies gave them as good of a battle as you could expect. And, I still think we left a little on the table, but that team's awesome. So good for you to win this year, but awesome to hear you're backing our birds and father from Philly. I'd be curious where. We're right around the corner. I work in Philly, so that's a great little story there. And I know Hertz is from the Texas region. Big guy that went to Bama, came back to Oklahoma, but we love Hertz here. And the reason we love Hertz, and I think more than anything we've learned over time, is his stoic personality.
Yeah.
He just
never gets too high, never gets too low.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful as a quarterback. I questioned whether he would have the arm and accuracy. He fixed that all this year. He has it. So I'm going to give you a quick crash course, and we'll get back into this game. But I was sitting with some buddies last night, hanging out at the house, and they asked me for my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, who you would take, right now. Like, it's not, if you had to win a Super Bowl right now. So I'll give you the same crash course test because I said something and I ended up retracting after I started going through the names. But go ahead, give me some names. I'll help out if you hit a speed bump.
Yeah. So obviously Mahomes and Allen are dead giveaways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think what else. I mean, you wouldn't say Brady anymore. He's fallen off the cliff. Let me just think. Division, it's not Dak because I'm holding on to Jalen just to see where I am at.
Yeah, that's what I did. I thought Cincinnati.
Yeah, Burrow.
Yep.
Obviously nobody. Pittsburgh, not Lamar.
No, I couldn't do Lamar either. Yeah, I'm with you.
I know. It's
I went out to LA.
Yeah, not Russ. Not.
I did go to the Chargers. I did. I thought.
I know. I'm hit or miss. Is it? I mean, I think you and I both agree that what Staley is doing out there in LA is a joke. And I think he's taking the ball out of Herbert's hands. But I just feel like they're not even explosive. I don't know. I mean, like, I know he's a good quarterback and he's got the stuff.
I'll put him in this offense. Like, I think
in our offense,
I would take him.
Yeah, in our offense. And then
so go through the NFC real fast. Nothing in the East. No Dak. No Washington, New York.
No.
I don't do Rodgers.
No.
Kirk, Goff, Fields. No. Brady and the trash in the South. No. Yep. And then you already said the West. So I landed on Hurts at 5.
Yeah.
Which you know what that means? He's number 1 in the NFC. Right. Like, hey, we've come all this way, and I did exactly what you did. I said I can't put Hurts there yet. Let me walk.
I'm waiting to see are there people who deserve to be above him?
I can't get there. I can't get there. I could even argue Hurts and Herbert. I could.
Yeah.
And so I could even get him to 4, but for now, 5 is a grandiose place to be. That's where I ended.
Yeah, I hope it continues. The only thing I'll say as a caveat is he a guy that gets figured out when offenses figure out somebody? Yeah. But like we've talked about, we've seen the talent in his arm get so much better. We've seen his arm just get so much better. He's become way more accurate. So I think even if you take his running away, I think he's at least a top 10 quarterback if you take his running away. And I'm good with that.
So Tom's right there with us. No order. Mahomes, Allen, he's right there. Hurts. Only one I don't see on your list there is Burrow, but I can, the Tom Burrow thing I can understand right now because you're still giving respect to the GOAT who's made the playoffs 20 straight years, and it could be a bad season. So anybody that wants to argue Tom with me, I'm probably just going to say your opinion, my opinion, we're close. And I'm good. I'm not going to say you're wrong because he doesn't look great, but some of that is a byproduct of that offensive line. I'm just convinced.
All time. Oh, they've been riddled with their offensive line has been absolutely slandered.
Yeah, awful. But stepping back to this Dallas game, and I'll ask you this before we move on: would they have won with Hurts?
I think so because it's the turnovers. It's the turnovers. Like I said, Hurts only goes to that Quez route once.
Yeah.
I just think that he would have recognized the defense and just said, no, I'm not going back to the well in this one. I got to let it. If he's going to go back to Quez, he's going to go something down the sideline, down the field, not an over the middle route.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think with Hurts in that game, Eagles win. Now, here's the challenging part. The defense still needed to step up. And
Mhm.
I think the injury to Avonte Maddox actually really kind of hurt them more than anything else on the field that day. He was moving around that field. He was flying.
And
Um, and I thought, his injury at that point in time really kind of messed us up. And Gannon messed us up too, because I read a stat that when we dropped back in zone, I think Prescott was like
24,
almost
24.
100%, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and just ripped us up. But then when we played man and pressured him, he had problems.
Right.
So I still have zero faith in Gannon, but
Yeah.
talent on defense is there.
Well, that's the thing. It's really he's been a decent defensive coordinator because of the talent that's out there. I mean, it's the talent. Sometimes talent outplays what he does. You gotta just rely on zone less. I mean,
Yep.
that's just what they have to do. And the other thing too, as to why I think they win this game with Hurts, I think the running game opens up more, not just because of him, but that was one less thing that Dallas's defense had to worry about.
Yeah.
Was
No, that's a great point.
and if they're running the ball, that's less time that Dallas has the ball. That's less chance for Dak to go out there and pass all over to CeeDee Lamb. Defense got tired. Gannon wanted to play zone. It kind of all equal to that. That was the difference in the way that the offense went about the game.
Yeah, and Gardner did not play bad.
He did.
We love him. Minshew mania. He didn't. Um, it's just the throws, like you said, that either the throws to Quez are there, but they're a little bit more zipped. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, or he doesn't go to Quez in those situations. So but again, I can't put those on Gardner. I really put those on Quez. I
I
do.
feel like even when he made completions like over the middle to Goddard and stuff like that, I almost felt like he was on his back foot, just kind of like getting it through. It wasn't like not
It
pure.
was.
Again,
He backed up.
very Minshew guy. You and I were both always big, even when Drumheller
I
was
like
on
Gardner.
he hated him. We've always been about Minshew. He was like on his back foot, just kind of like getting the ball through just enough. It was just like not your typical like I'm doing this. It was just like a very weird.
Yeah,
He's almost like he instead of being like side, he was squared up, going back and kind of throwing it like that.
And he missed an overthrow early in the game, doing the same thing. Someone's wide open. I'm trying to remember the play, and he goes off his back foot and floats it over the head.
Yeah.
So, but again, that's reps. That's time. I had zero issues with Gardner. To me, he kept us in that game and gave us every shot to win it. Defense could have helped us out a little bit more, and in the end, I think those turnovers were deadly. I mean, it's Miles Sanders, it's 2 to Quez that I think are catchable. And what was the other one? Did Minshew fumble one?
I thought that was it. No,
I thought we had 4.
I thought it was 3-0.
Oh, 3-0. Yes, you're right. No, 4-1 because Dak threw the pick to Sweat.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Minshew might have fumbled one on a sack, but yeah. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for checking in. We will, and keep flying high, man. Keep cheering for those birds. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you checking in. Good stuff. Hope your dad, we're gonna get one for him. But hey, talking about that game, we're moving on now. Let's look ahead to the New Orleans Saints. Mark, news came out today that Hurts did practice. Where you put him on the scale of probability of playing this weekend?
I'm at 75% as of this point. I mean, it's
like
cold out there working. The media is going to run with it if he's actually in practice. The fact that they let him out there in practice, how do you not at this point? And they, I think even Sirianni said something along the lines like he could have played against Dallas. Didn't he say something along the lines of that?
I didn't catch that. But yeah.
I feel like there's rumblings or either reading between the tea leaves or something along those lines that, I mean, you think about it. If like the scenario has been brought up, if they were like 8-6 and it were about getting that, and it was the last game of the season, obviously that's not 18-week schedule. And that was, to get into the playoffs, you think they wouldn't play him?
Oh yeah, they would have. We talked about before that. If they were 8-6,
I think that was the severity of the injury, but because they didn't have to win that game, they felt they could afford to. And now the pressure's on a little bit because I think they thought that they were going to win it. It didn't happen. Here we are. I think you just got to go out there. And again, I think, if it seems like he's coming into trouble, I don't think that would be the case this week. But worst come to worst, you go short leash. You just have Minshew's obviously working with the team.
And
Obviously,
they can win this game with Minshew. Like, there's no problem.
They can.
But you need Hurts to get reps. That's where I'm at.
Right.
I don't need him out 4 straight weeks. So 75 is a good number. I'm going to agree with you on 75 with the uptick of one more practice tomorrow, bumps them up to 90. But with that said, this game's actually even more bigger than Dallas.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is obviously the draft picks, right? If we're able to get something here and beat New Orleans and knock them down even further, they've won a couple in a row. It really fluffs up the probability of us picking in the top 10. Yeah. So this game in the end, I mean, Dallas was they're as long as they don't win 3 in a row and we lose 3 in a row, they were going to get locked in the 5 seed. That was it. Like, no matter what last week. And that's where I still think we are. This win this week's even bigger. And that's why I think the trend is going to get closer to him playing.
Absolutely. I think you have to. You really have to. You can't. And also, you can't run the risk of having to play. Now, the good thing is the game is home.
Yes.
Playing the Giants next week, needing to win. Division games are always wild. We beat them. Who knows where they're at mentally. Obviously, they're still trying to get into the tournament. So, do they come and stick it to us? What if Hurts isn't able to go and you got Minshew out there and he just doesn't have it, and maybe the weather's not great, and it's one of those things, and now you lost number 1 overall.
Yep.
Because you kind of, took chances. So I really think that the arrow is trending towards him playing.
Yeah, I do.
It has to be.
So let me ask you this. Dallas now 17-13. Titans just punched one in.
They just did.
If you win the division tonight because Dallas loses, does that change your opinion on whether he should play or not?
See, if it were me, now what the team does, I don't know. But the reps, I think you need to get Jalen some reps. I really do.
I do.
On ice now. You can't. He needs at least a half a play.
Yeah, and
he really does. And if they need to use that draft pick as motivation, say, hey, Jalen, we're going to get you another receiver. Or we're going to get you an offensive line. Like, even though I really think defense is probably where that pick would be most useful. I think that you really got to get him going somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
you're not going to do it the last week of the season.
I think regardless of tonight's, outcome, I'm just looking at this week. I think Hurts plays either this week or next, just to get those reps that we talked about. But I think regardless of tonight's outcome, it's all based on his health and his how he feels pain tolerance wise. So I think that's what it's going to rely on, because don't forget, even with the Dallas loss tonight and like clinching the NFC East is huge. You're still battling a little bit with Minnesota there. You pretty much are up 1.5 with 2 left. You need one good thing to go your way. Them lose, us win. So even without them, you still got Minnesota in the rearview mirror. So lock it up, get it done, play him this week as long as he's feeling up to it. And that's where I think we stand. Let's look into the game and let's break it down quickly here. The Saints are playing a little better. They won in Cleveland last week. I laugh a little bit. I said it before. I don't understand the love behind the Deshaun Watson stuff. I know we loved him for a second. I backed off, and I didn't understand the price tag. And everybody just saying, I was wrong when I did say I wanted him a little bit over Hurts, but I'm clear in my day. I never thought the Browns should give away the whole farm for someone where I thought Mayfield was not that far off. That far off. And I think Watson's proven. Now, I know that's rust and that's shakiness, that's bad weather, that's wind, that's cold, but he looks horrendous in his first 3 games.
It really does.
And that gave the Saints an unfortunate. I mean, they were up 10-0 and they blew that game to the Saints. So coming in this week, we're looking at Dalton again. We're looking at Taysom Hill. We're looking at a combo of, Olave's probably out. He was out last week. But they still have some decent receivers, Rashid Shaheed and Juwan Johnson at tight end, and Kamara, obviously. But
Kamara kind of hurts me fantasy wise because I'm in the championship in one league and Kamara's my guy. But he didn't practice, and if he doesn't practice tomorrow, he might not be out there.
Yeah, I'm in 2 fantasy championships. I have Pollard in both.
I know. I had Pollard in the same league.
So I ended up picking Hassan Haskins up and using him. He's not doing great, but 40 yards so far. We'll see. But that's the struggle this time of year, right? I'm with you. I don't think Kamara had a great matchup anyway. Yeah. So you might be actually kind of in better hands not using him. We'll see. Definitely going to figure it out. But the Saints do bring a little punch. That's all I was getting at. It's not like it's a small punch. It's a I don't want to call it Glass Joe, but I mean maybe Don Flamenco. It's for those of who can reference some punch out here. He's a step up from Glass Joe, but it's not huge. It's a team you can dominate if given the right opportunity and controlling the ball, holding on to it.
Right. I think the issue. Well, I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that.
No, just breaking down New Orleans.
Yeah. No. I think what I was going. Now I remember what I was going to say. I apologize. So Andy Dalton. We've never beaten Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
The Eagles have never beaten Andy Dalton. I think that's something to be key on. But this is not the same Andy Dalton when he was with Cincinnati. I guess he beat us last year with Dallas. I'm guessing one of those games.
Yep.
Had to be the case. So it makes sense. I'm not really scared of Andy Dalton. I don't think we should be. I think they'll be able to take care of that. The Saints are going through the ups and downs of everything. Now there's, rumors about Sean Payton coming back and Tom coming to New Orleans. And they're going to do that next year. Everything's all over the place. You got Michael Thomas posting about that. I'm not really too scared. Even if Kamara is there or if he isn't there, I think they'll be able to take care of business either way. Agree, there's a little bit of a punch. That, I can't say with pure certainty that we have this in the bag.
No.
That's where they're at. They've done some things. They've won two in a row, I think, because they beat the Falcons and then they beat the Browns. So they have something. But
no, I'm with you. It's a team we can't take lightly, but in the end, it's a team you can dominate, and you can dominate, with your physicality. Without Lane, okay, I still think we can kind of, be the bullies per se and be able to push and enforce our will. So I still think that's going to be there. And the weather is looking like it might be a beautiful, 55, 60 degree day. So the wind's not going to be a factor. Cold's not going to be a factor. It's going to be something where I'm really looking forward to, what they can kind of show us coming off a loss here, showing us to the extent that, they have that dog in them, that rebound in them to really beat a team they should beat, which they've done all year, except for the Washington game, and do it in style. So I think the Eagles are going to bounce back well. I have no concerns, no questions that this team has the right mindset. And it does start with Sirianni. I give them that.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. I mean, the thing is, I think with either quarterback, I think they're able to take care of business. But the good thing about it is Jalen has the Saints number because he's played them, both years prior.
Yeah.
And he beat them twice. Got his first start win was against the Saints. So he's shown he's been able to do it. And this is the best Eagles team that he's had to play against them. And it's the worst Saints team that they're coming at us with.
Yep.
So if you have him in here, I mean, you should be confident. I mean, he's only gotten that much better as a quarterback since the last time he played them.
Yeah.
And he's taking care of business both times.
No, I fully agree. And, I still have some memories of how he played against them, especially in a season that we were not. I think his first start might have been against the Saints. It was right after the Green Bay game.
When he came in Green Bay, they finally took Wentz out. Then they started
Hurts. The next week, I feel like
it was.
It was the next weekend, and they were playing for someone. We beat them, and then I think we beat them again last year. So he gets a taste of them for the third straight year here.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And we'll see how it goes. I'm going to say this. Eagles obviously the better team. Eagles, should be able to take care of their business. If Hurts starts, it might start a little slow, and it might just be like getting some of that rust off. And even though it was only a week and a half, 2 weeks here, but either way, Hurts starts. I say the Eagles end up scoring 27, win 27 to, I'll say 16. Minshew goes, I might even give him 30, but only a couple points more just because of the rhythm there. But in the end, Eagles win by double digits.
I can actually see with Hurts starting, I think they get the running game going early and often.
Yeah.
I don't, and I think what it is with Hurts back, the Saints are playing is he going to run? Is he not?
Yeah.
Do we fully commit to the run game or do we commit to the spy game? I think they're not going to know what to do. And I think he's going to give them looks that show that as if he's going to run. And maybe he might run once or twice early just to get them on their toes. And then Miles Sanders has a comeback game because he needs it. He needs to bounce back. I think he gets going early and often, and then it opens up the pass game. And then I think they're fine. Honestly, I think the number is 6.5, if I'm not mistaken. I like the Eagles here, 32-24, just, beating their cover by 1.5 points.
I like it, 32-24. So we got it 6.5. You have it at?
That's what I thought.
Okay, I thought it saw 7.5 earlier, but that's fine. It's all the same. But yeah, getting the job done, moving on, and then let's just close out with the Eagles talk with this. They win this week. Jalen plays. It's full shutdown mode next week, right?
It has to be. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Like you said, there's nothing. You don't gain anything going against the Giants like that. There's nothing anymore with seeding. So, yeah, I think we're, getting everybody ready.
I love it. All right, let's move on. Let's close out the NFL portion of this show with a quick 3-pack here. As we like to do with the NFL, a lot going on, and I'm trying to just double check my spreads, but a lot going on, a lot in play, especially, last year it got weird with the 17-game schedule. Not a lot was in play the last week. But this, AFC looks like it's going to be live all the way through week 18. And so will the NFC, based upon Washington's inability to close this thing out. And Tampa's still having a little bit of, this week goes a long way. If they win, it's done. But that last wild card will definitely go until last week. So that said, I will pass it over to you for your first pick in this 3-pack.
Sure thing. So I have this 3-0, 1-2, 3-0, 1-2. So take my picks this week because I'm going 3-0.
I'm with you.
It's the trend. It's the trend. I had an off week last week. Lions disappointed me. Eagles disappointed. So, I'm feeling good this week. I'm going with the big game here. Broncos at the Chiefs. The line is minus 12.5. And I'm actually going with the favorite in this scenario. The Broncos are a mess. People are probably thinking, that line should be more than 12.5. They got smoked by the Rams with Baker Mayfield. They brought in Bryce Perkins or whatever towards the end of the game. The Broncos just couldn't get in their own way. Broncos stink. They stink on ice. And I know they were able to pick off Mahomes a couple times. Honestly, I think Mahomes, I don't think it matters that much to him, but I think it probably matters more than it does. I think he's still vying for that, he can solidify MVP with a strong showing this week because of Hurts missing out. If Hurts doesn't have a good week, I really think that he got embarrassed by all the interceptions against the Broncos a couple weeks ago. So I think he's going to be more efficient. I think he's going to light them up. I like the Chiefs at minus 12.5. That's the line that I got from FanDuel over the top.
I like it. And the reason I like it more, and we've been going against big favorites for a while here this year, but losing a head coach and now trying to piece this thing together and keep them all wrapped, believing for the last 2 weeks of the season, it's going to be tough. They already had their one kind of hang-in game with the Chiefs. Right. I don't know if they can get two. So I'm with you. Chiefs are playing for everything still, especially when they look up and they see that Cincy is at Buffalo this week and a potential for Cincy to win and KC to get back up in that one spot. So I'm with you. I'm going to jump over to one other game. One game I like, and that boy is back, and that boy being Mike White. And I think
Mhm.
I've just had a real big problem with Seattle down the stretch here, and their inability to really even show up, and move the ball. And it's crazy because they were darlings earlier in the season. The DK show, the Tyler Lockett show, but 10 to they only scored 10 against the Chiefs last week, 13 the week before against the Niners. I think the loss of Lockett is really hurting them. And
Yeah,
I'm going to go with the Jets and Mike White. I think they can, when he's in, they just get a little extra juice, a little extra momentum, and them just putting Zach Wilson out in the pasture like old Yeller. I think that's going to be good for the Jets. I'll take the Jets -1 in Seattle this week.
I was looking at that too because I mean, you usually don't go against Seattle at home, but like you said, I agree. There's some juice when Mike White is in there. You get a better performance out of Corey Davis and Elijah Moore. So I think that's definitely a good look for the Jets. Surprising. Who would have thought we'd be saying this, especially with Mike White as quarterback? But I'm
Yeah,
totally that
that
pick.
boy.
I was considering putting that in there, but I went against it. For my second pick, this has playoff implications. Obviously, we're hoping we can fend them off, but obviously we are still competing with the Minnesota Vikings, as you said. It's
Yeah.
if they win out and we lose out, that would be something where they're, hanging around. So you saw they pulled out all the stops and they won that game against who was that? The Giants. That was a tight game too. And
It
that's the
was.
thing. They should have smoked the Giants, but they didn't. But they still found a way to win that game. In this scenario, they're +3 at the Packers. Everyone's looking at the Packers on Christmas Day, and they're looking at that comeback win. Tua was seeing stripes,
Ah,
stars. It's bad.
I told you that head coach is an absolute buffoon. Oh,
I
buffoon. He
it's
knew by
true
halftime he's seeing a
because that was
different
what
role.
second quarter, right?
It happened second quarter. Yeah, and
Second quarter.
he's such an ass, that guy. I can't stand him. And now they comes out he's concussed and nobody even challenges the head coach. But
And
go
that's
ahead.
the thing. This is what 3 or 4 this year now. I mean, this
Yeah.
is now career altering type of stuff where he may not, you know, say he doesn't have another concussion this year, but next year falls into a couple. I mean, his
It's
career
over.
could be done.
Yeah.
It really could be done. With that being said, the Packers really aren't that good. I know they've been trying. I think they're on the outside looking in for a potential playoff spot. I just don't think it's going to happen. So with that being said, I like the Vikings at Minnesota or at Green Bay +3.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go to a game that we watched the other night. I'm really not, I really don't know who they're gonna start. But it was a disaster, and that's the Colts Giants and Nick Foles. The return of BDN. I was like, look, it's gonna be something special. And it was special, all right. It was short bus special because he
Yeah,
looked terrible, man. He just looked atrocious.
you know,
And I don't know what it is. It's some of the offensive line, some of the offensive talent. There's a lot of things that are going on, but the LA Chargers don't play very good defense, except for rushing the quarterback. Given that Bosa wasn't even playing, and they struggled to move the ball, which makes me feel like they're going to do it this week against the Giants, who really do have a bad defense from both a passing and rushing perspective. Thibodeau's been playing some ball lately, but other than that, teams have been able to really effectively move it. We saw what Minnesota did. We saw the week before what Washington did. I will take the Colts just because the points I think are too much for the Giants to handle here. They're not a team that can really, beat you with margin. So I'll take the Colts. I got 5.5. I've seen 6 some other places, but I think you're safe taking the Colts. Anything above 5, get you over a key number. So I'll take the Colts this week, regardless who they're starting. Ellinger,
yeah,
Foles, I'm good either way.
yeah, I agree. I don't think the Giants have earned big numbers.
Right.
They really haven't. Big favorites. They're not big favorites. To end off the week, and we're ending off the week. Bills at the Bengals. You alluded to it earlier. This is a big game. This has obviously the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals are all hanging atop the AFC. Bengals go from again. They lost those first 2 games of the season, and you thought the wheels were falling off. Super Bowl appearance hangover, and they've been great against the spread. They've been great against the spread. The spread is +1.5 at home on Monday night. They have a chance to prove everybody wrong and to take first place the opportunity for them to do so, you absolutely have to go with Joey Burr here. I mean, I think the Bills are good, but they haven't been as great as they've been in the past. I like the momentum that Cincinnati's playing with right now. I like the opportunity for the Bengals, and they're really turning heads again. I mean, we really had to start believing in them again after them making the Super Bowl last year. I mean, you've seen it. Burrow has beaten Mahomes, 3 times? I like him in the matchup with Josh Allen here. Give me the Bengals plus 1.5 at home.
I don't hate it. I really don't. The Bengals are a cashing machine right now, so I like where you're headed, and I think that's a good pick. I'm going to close this one out with the Washington Commanders -2. I think the return of the Wentz actually benefits them a little bit this week. Do I think he's good? No. But do I think versus a Cleveland team that you can actually sit there and give the ball to B-Rob and Gibson and dominate the run game and then use Wentz in the play action pass? One of the things he does well is roll out. He's not good in the pocket. If they're able to at least, use that running game and work off that and get him outside the pocket, I think he's going to be effective. And I just think, spoke about it earlier, don't like Deshaun Watson, the way he's playing. I don't like the way the Browns are closing the season out. From both the offensive and defensive perspective. Washington's got a little juice on defense. Didn't show up too much last week against San Fran, but Chase Young is back. And I think in the end, this is a win to get in kind of scenario for them. And I think they get this one this week. I'll take the Commanders -2 at home against the Cleveland Browns.
I guess my only question has been how, I know I didn't see how Washington played last week, but just to switch to Heineke so quick, like the switch out.
Well,
for so long, I don't know if I missed something. But
I read a bunch of things. I think they didn't score. Don't hold me to this, but they didn't score more than 20 or 21 in a game with Heineke, or 23. It was something like, and it's been very stagnant lately. They haven't been able to move the ball at all. His turnovers became a problem. They were getting beat pretty bad last week. Wentz comes in, drives them down, scores a touchdown. I know that's nothing in a late game scenario, but it's a factor of they've gotten this far, and Heineke has benefited from the run game. Give Wentz a chance with the run game and see what it is. That's kind of where they're going.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see. But hey, that kicks off the NFL or kicks out the NFL portion of this show. We're going to move quickly over to the NBA. And when I say quickly, I only mean that from a sense of the Sixers had won 8 in a row, got that snap this Monday against the Washington Wizards, which was a little disheartening. Monday, I'm sorry, today's Thursday. Tuesday it happened. Joel scores 48, but what I want to point out is he had 1 assist. And that's like the problem I have with Joel Embiid right now. You can do all you want. You can be hero ball, but to get the ball and never, ever look anywhere else, because I was watching that game intently. He had a couple he passed away and they didn't make shots, but it wasn't many. It was usually get it to him and he was going right up.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of basketball that produces winning, even though 48 is good. Don't get me wrong. My concern right now is Joel is playing for a different reason. I just feel like he's playing for the scoring title. And I'm watching and I'm like, good and all, but you can't beat the Wizards. That's 2 losses to them now this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the one thing that you can say to beat that is that James Harden is the assist leader in the NBA. But no, obviously that's kind of tongue in cheek. Yeah, it does seem like he's just kind of making it work his way. And it's not a team way. I do agree with you. I mean, it's at least he's got his goal, his eye on the prize is on something. And it's a little frustrating because there's been at times where he is the defensive player of the year, and then sometimes when he takes off, as we've talked about in the past. We'll see how things go. The Nets and the Celtics are both looking really good right now.
Yep.
So, I mean, with the Sixers, it's frustrating because as great as that, 7-game win streak was, and, as much as the Wizards loss stinks, you still have a lot of questions about this team. A lot of questions.
A lot of questions. And
Will they make their team better? That's really what I'm waiting to see.
even the 8-game win streak, they should have lost to the Knicks. They were down 20 early. They should have lost to the Clippers the night before. They were down huge in that game.
Yeah.
They should have lost like even the Lakers game, and there was a game I went to, the Toronto Raptors game. Should have lost, got into overtime. They just are not a very crisp basketball team. They have talent. They really do. Maxi's coming back on Friday, it looks like tomorrow. But and I don't even know what to do with Maxey. I'll even start that off.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I make him the 6th man right now.
I do too.
Yeah, good. Because I think Melton's good enough. And then you got the mix of Tucker is a waste, but he's good defensively. So he's that guy. He doesn't need the ball. You need those type of guys. So I'm good starting the Tucker, Harris, Embiid, Harden, Melton combo.
Well, if he's going to be on a minutes restriction anyway. So why not throw him in there when he's most fit and work him and ease him back in there instead of feel like he has to go in there and be the elite Maxey.
Right.
I just don't think he cares either way. You could tell him, hey, you're gonna have all the pressure on in the world, and I think he's still gonna perform. I don't think he's a guy who shrinks when it comes to that. But the way that Melton's playing and that he's on a minutes restriction, let's see what the offense looks like now that he's back in due time.
Yep, I agree. So I just want to pose you this question. And while I do that, I'm going to run out and get my charger because my computer's going a little low. Are the Sixers well suited enough that they don't have to make a move at the deadline, or are they in a position where they might need to do something significant? Is it to a point where they haven't played enough with all their players that we just got to trust this and run this out and trust what Daryl's done? Or do you think there's something that they need to do?
There's probably a move or two they need to do. I mean, the thing is, when you look at it, the backup center position has not been figured out because we have Montrezl Harrell, who's getting way too many minutes. I think they have to move on from that scenario, not saying that he's going to garner you anything. Paul Reed's been playing better. I saw something that maybe, this would be interesting. This isn't the only move, but if they were to bring in a guy like Boogie Cousins just to get rebounds and who has some offense, honestly, that's something that I would just take a look into. Obviously, it's not going to cost you much to do so. But they kind of got to move away from Harold. But I do not think that they can sit on their hands come trade deadline time. I absolutely think that they need to figure out something. I don't have the answers at this moment. I can't tell you what it is that they could exactly do. I mean, obviously, you have something centered around Matisse and Furkan, and I don't know what gets you, but you need another role piece, bench player that's going to do it for you. Until that happens, I don't think this team is fully ready to take that next step. I mean, when you look at, I don't know about the Nets, but you look at the Celtics and they just make it work. I mean, obviously they have 2 stars that they're playing with, and the rest of the team is playing well around them. So they're not complete. You would think that they are. I mean, on paper, we look like a complete team.
Yeah.
But
no,
we're not.
And I'm with you there. It's kind of perplexing, but in the end, I think this is what we got, and this is what we stick with. Like, I always think you just have too many different options to try and make this thing work. I'm long-term put Maxey as a 6-man kind of guy because the bench is part that struggled, even though it got a little better recently. I'm good with Niang. I'm good with Shake. But you mix him in with a true point guard like Maxey, I think you got a really good bench squad. So, like you said, I think Harold's getting a little too much in there. He's kind of a waste of space to me. I mean, a little energy guy, but 8 to 10 minutes a game is plenty for me. I'd rather see Paul Reed. But in the end, I got problems with this team. I just don't think they're built to win a championship. I watched the high pick and roll all day between 2 players and 3 of them sit in the corner. It's a really, really stale way to play basketball. When they move the ball, they're exciting. They're good. In fact, they played better probably when they haven't had Harden or Embiid at times, even though I know you need them to win. And that's because they're very fluent and move the ball better. But not this stupid high pick and roll and dribble 3,000 times before we make a shot with 3 seconds up on the shot clock. It's just it's not going to win, and it's not going to work. The Embiid turnovers, the Embiid end of the game situations are still a problem. They've never got fixed. So I was hanging out with some guys the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, I haven't watched more than a quarter of the Sixers." And he's wearing a Sixers sweatshirt, by the way, when I'm hanging out with him. Like, why? He's like, "I already know they're not built to win."
Yeah.
It's a shame and it's sad because I'm a hoop head for life, but they might be right.
I mean, they've looked better going into the playoffs last year than they do right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they improved their team, but yet they still just aren't clicking. And that's the problem. They're not clicking. I think they made some. I think they got more out. I mean, the Anthony Melton is great. He's been a
Right,
great.
yeah.
But I don't think he's enough.
Right.
He's not enough. I think it's, just looking at the different pieces that they have, I just don't think it all makes sense and it all doesn't work together. It all doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And it's a tough pill to swallow because we've put so much time, so much investment into this team. But when I watch how the Nets are playing right now, and I watch, you brought them up, but I still talk about the Bucks, and the top of the conference still has a team like Cleveland, who definitely got better over the off season.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's there for the Sixers to really necessarily be in position to beat either of these teams, any of those teams. So, I'll still cheer. I'll still be there.
Yeah.
But, and then the news came out on Christmas that James Harden is potentially looking at going to Houston, back to Houston. I don't even know what that bullshit was. And more bullshit was what he wore to Christmas game. But I'm tired of it. This guy, I want to cheer. I want to get behind him, and he's actually shooting the ball better lately, and to the point that I'm like, I could get there. And then I see that, and then he's like, "Oh, I don't know where that came from." You know where it came from. Nobody made that shit up. Like, why? Like, you jumped from Houston because you were mad. You go to Brooklyn, then you get mad, and then you come here, and now you're starting up in less than a year. Less than a year. Man, this sucks. It just sucks, in my opinion.
I just wonder if it is, but I don't know if he would do this or not, because the whole point is he wanted to be with Morey anyway. Is this him just trying to make sure that he's locked into getting a big deal from the Sixers? I want him here. I was trying to think about it. Where are our options if he does leave at the end of this year? It definitely frees up space, but I don't know what they can feasibly get without making other moves. I don't know what they could bring in that would be the equivalent or better than him. So it's tough. It kind of puts us in a bubble either way, whether he's not here or he's here, because I think the loss of him hurts too.
Yeah, it does.
When we're wasting Embiid's prime, but again, he's also got part to blame in it too.
Oh yeah.
Just don't. I mean, you look at it. The guys that are the ones that you can build something around are Maxey and Melton, if you really want to go down that route. But then you got no front court at all. So, I mean, to have to rebuild that again, it's. I don't know how. I don't know.
It's tough.
Yeah.
No, it's really tough. And I mean, to watch this kind of unfold the way it's unfolding right now, it's going to come down to if they lose again in the first or second round.
Yep.
It's just
they blow it up. Yeah.
Yep. But let's talk about looking good in this. Let's transition over to our other team in Philadelphia that just made one other significant signing and was the winners, in my opinion, of the MLB off-season hot stove edition, the Philadelphia Phillies. They land Craig Kimbrell, a very well-known, respected reliever in this game. Got the wings going, but 1 year, $10 million. Talking to one guy the other day, and I bring this up because I just love having the different perspectives. One hates it, one loves it. Another guy, I'm in the court of I love it. And the biggest reason I do, I'm not the biggest Craig Kimbrell guy in the world. In fact, I think we're 3 years late because there were rumors back then of us getting him. It's 1 year. How can you ever have an investment with a 1 year deal really be a bad investment? So I think in the end, I think we bring in Kimbrell to be that kind of psychological leader in the bullpen back there. I don't think he's the closer. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but I do think Topper is the kind of guy that will use the hot hand. And I think it's going to be a Sir Anthony early. And if we get little struggles, we go to Kimbrel. He's there because we know we have a seasoned guy that can get the job done if we need it. But as the year starts, I'm not sure he's the closer, but I love the deal.
I think he gets the opportunity at some point. Like
I
you
agree.
said, they're not like, I completely agree with your point. They're not, I don't think they're really walking into the season saying this is our closer. I think it's Sir Anthony gets a shot, maybe Alvarado. I think
In my
Alvarado
situation,
gets a shot before Kimbrel does.
Yeah.
I think he gets a shot before Kimbrel does just because he's been here for so long. He's done it a little bit. But I agree. You can't go wrong with a 1-year, $10 million deal for him. But that does worry me, is somebody that's been sought after for so long now. I know he's obviously a long-time veteran, so he's not a spring chicken. But to only get 1 year, 10 million out of him too makes me think that he's not, like, obviously he's not in his peak all-star days. How much of it do we have? That's what I'm wondering, is what's the product that we're going to get back. It doesn't hurt though. I mean, we all, we forget that Familia was on this team.
I know.
Last year.
Yep.
That's insane to think about. The run that they made.
I never liked
Familia was on this team last year. Luckily, they DFA'd him and Odubel Herrera, two guys that we weren't sure, if they were going to get rid of or not. I mean, they made a lot of bold moves. It was good, but I don't think he's going to be yours Familia. Even if he's bad, he's not going to be that bad. I really don't think so.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's another very solid move by Dombrowski. He's a guy that wants to bring in veterans around this team to win now, and he sees an opportunity and a window to win now. The difficulties can be Harper's out for quite a while, and we might not see him till All-Star break. But keep this thing afloat, bring in the talent, make all those decisions tough, but tough in a good way. And I think this is a really good signing by the Philadelphia Phillies. And I think they continue to be one of the best, if not the best teams this offseason. So I got to give them a lot of credit, and I tip my cap to them. So as we move upon the hour mark in this show, I just wanted to close out this beautiful year that was 2022. It was the year of Philly sports in a way, and I'll just say that because of the recent upturn and the way the Phillies and Eagles have played. But, Mark, I'm going to pass it over to you. I'm going to say, what was your favorite Philly sports moment of this wonderful year that was 2022 as we move forward in just 2 short days to the new year of 2023?
It's hard not to go with this one. Bryce Harper putting the Phillies into the World Series. It might be my sports moment of the year, honestly, but I think I have something else in the back of my head, but it's everything you wish for. And it's the moment, and this is the culmination of, like, you look at him winning the MVP last year. Okay, that was cool, right? Because it really was that everybody kind of fizzled out, and he did put the team on his back trying to get to the playoffs. They didn't even get to the playoffs. So it really didn't have that much. To be the guy, to be the man in that scenario with the stakes the way that they were, I mean, it was something out of a movie.
Yep.
I remember standing there. I was doing my ritual type stuff, and it was just like euphoric. I was like, I can't believe this just happened. He put the whole entire city of Philadelphia on his 2 shoulders and brought us to the World Series when no one thought it was even possible.
I'm with you. That is the moment of the year for Philadelphia. But if I could take a second one, it is also from the Pinstripes and the Phillies. And it was a game in San Diego. I think it was, I'll rewind my mind a little bit, but I believe it was game 1. And Schwarber hit about a 500-foot home run to right field. They won the game 2-1, I want to say. Or was it 1-0? Either way, 1-run game. And Harper's face after that home run.
Yeah, the wow.
It reminded us a little bit of Matt Stairs in L.A., in Chez Ravine, when he hit that home run during the 2008 run when the Phillies won the World Series. And the fact that Schwarber came here and brought this kind of 96 Phillies gas house, pot belly, rip it and grip it style back to South Philadelphia. I thought that was his penultimate point. I mean, he had a good World Series too, don't get me wrong, but that shot off Yu Darvish that day is something I'll go down and remember, and was quite a memory for me for 2022. But I'm with you. It was the opposite field shot of Bryce Harper in game. What was that? 5 or 6? 5. Yeah, because they didn't go back to San Diego.
Right.
Yeah. But as we look in the sports world in a whole, 2022 brought about quite many things that were really interesting, intriguing. If we go back and look at the winners of the, big major fours, you look at the Los Angeles Rams, you can look at, in hockey, the Colorado Avalanche, you now look at the Houston Astros in baseball. And then when we look at basketball and understand the Golden State Warriors, I just want to look back and say, what was your moment of the year for all of sports?
It is not any of those sports.
Okay. I know where you're going.
It is very recent.
Yep, I agree.
A couple Sundays ago, Sunday morning, for us local Americans, we had an opportunity to watch two of the best soccer players in the world go head to head. And who would have thought that I would ever say this, but that game had every single thing that you want. The World Cup final.
It was crazy.
Past year in Qatar, or Qatar, however you say it.
France, Argentina.
Between France and Argentina. Lionel Messi, who's been doing it forever, who, the only thing he hasn't achieved is a World Cup title. Put everything, like, he is Argentina. He's done everything for Barcelona, the whole nine. He's won every award, Golden Boots, this, that, and the third. But he won the World Cup in probably his last World Cup. A lot of those players are, probably going to never play for Argentina again. A team that I followed because of my friends. So obviously there's a little more in it for me than maybe others. But Mbappe, the performance that he put on.
Oh, yeah.
So when you look at them going head to head, and they really did put on quite a show. So if I had to say my non-Philly sports moment of the year, I mean, honestly, it's a shame that the World Cup is every 4 years, because I think it's hard. Like, I know more Americans now are getting into the English Premier Leagues and UEFA and stuff like that. Like, soccer is becoming more popular, but if you had those moments like every 2 years, I think you get even more people, buying into soccer. But the 4 years, like, it's easy to go by the wayside because they're playing. Also, another thing, the Wrexham thing, I think that's going to start getting people involved. I love that show. Obviously, it's not on the pro level, but just saying, I think soccer could make its way back. I don't know if it'll ever be in the realm of the top 4. They're trying and they're pushing hard. I think they're going the right route. But the performance, if we get more of those performances of what we saw a couple weeks ago, I think soccer would be on the uptick.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great choice, and I think it's a great call. And it was an amazing display of not just athleticism, but just pure grace and pureness of a sport. It was art. And it was, the way it ended was kind of wild and awesome. Talking about one of the best World Cups, if not the best ever. But I'll go to very early in the year for my moment. And it was probably one of the best NFL games that I've ever seen. And it was the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. And to see Patrick Mahomes bring this team back with, I want to say, 17 seconds and rip a couple balls up the field crazily, to be able to put them in field goal range to actually tie the game before going to overtime. And the reason that game was so pure and so good and so wild is we remember it for what will come this postseason. They changed the rules forever. Yeah. That game was whoever had the ball last won. And that's really what it was. Kansas City gets the coin flip, wins in overtime, and goes down and wins the game. Josh Allen and Mahomes put on an absolute display.
Yep.
And you just have to look back at that one like, it was special. And at that time, it was special. And this time, we could probably see something just as similar as we get into the AFC playoffs and the AFC potential for, them two meeting up once again. So that, you have end of the year, I begin the year, but those two games themselves, some say one of the best NFL games ever, and others say one of the best World Cup games ever. So, Mark, with that, we're closing out 22 on a roll here. We sat here and we developed and we brought this show to the Heat Ratio Sports Network. Thanks to Tony Cotillo, Dan Green, a lot of other guys, Nikki K, that belong to this area. We've talked to, many, been a part of this team for last year and so proud to be part of it. We look for bigger and better things as we move towards the new year here. And we're going to go strong. We're part of this team through and through. And we can't wait to just give you, this content, but even maybe some more. And Mark, I hand it over to you with your talk as we move on to a beautiful new year.
Yes, I obviously to you and yours, happy New Year's. A lot of exciting things. Hopefully we get a, solid Eagles playoff run to start. Obviously fingers crossed, hoping for a Super Bowl. But obviously, I hope everyone's healthy, happy, be grateful for what you have. Just take care of yourselves. Just enjoy great sports. I mean, sport, whether it's betting purposes or not, sports are even better. It's fun to watch. Obviously there's their faults and sometimes refs get too involved and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's fun to watch. And the fact that we get to watch this type of stuff, like even watching Thursday Night Football, it's great. We have a lot of stuff to be grateful for and thankful for. So happy New Year's, everyone. And, Fourth and Go wishes you the best if we're going to keep on moving it forward in 2023.
And we are. And I can't wait for that. Great talk, Mark. As we move out of here, have a healthy, happy, and safe one with you, yours, your family, your friends, whatever it may be. Let's cheer on the birds. And we'll see you next week to recap a great Eagles-Saints game and so much more here as we are Fourth and Go, the Philly 4 for 4, and so much more. Until next week, enjoy your new year. And let's close this one out special. Take care.